This is Drew Fish, and you're listening to the Garrett Smith Podcast.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 45 of the podcast. I'm pretty excited about today's episode because we have a phenomenal songwriter and just all-around good dude here with us today. Welcoming Drew Fish to the podcast. Drew, how's it going?
Man, thank you. I appreciate that. Glad you like the songwriting.
Yeah.
Man, I've been doing well. Just glad that things are starting to get back to normal and it's starting to feel like real life again.
It's true. You know, it felt great the day when I took my rundown for a podcast, and instead of saying, you know, how's life during COVID treating you, when I could rephrase it to life coming out of COVID. It's a nice transition to be able to kind of rephrase that for people.
Oh yeah, for sure, man. It was crazy because like the week that they opened Texas back up, it was like all of a sudden it was like you started getting calls from venues again, and it was like one of those things where like you didn't have to like look for stuff. Like it started kind of falling into your lap, and you're like, man, oof, I feel like I can breathe again.
It's crazy how that worked. So for my music career, you know, I was doing mostly solo, and I finally started getting the full band gigs coming in February and March of 2020. I mean, I was like, yeah, this is about to be great. And then boom. So luckily for me, now I've been able to come out of it still with that momentum, but I was pretty nervous for about a calendar year thinking that it had completely derailed everything. But I think the venues are happy to be getting some of us back. And I know we're happy to be there with them for sure.
Yeah, man, we dropped it. We dropped a new record on February 7th of 2020. And I mean, you being a musician, you know this. I don't know if the listeners, I don't know what percentage of them are going to be musicians, but when you drop a record, it's like, that's when like you're full throttle, you're going. It's like the record drops, you've got the CD release tour, you've got press going crazy, we had a radio single that was going up the charts and everything, and it was like all of a sudden on March 4th, we played our last show before everything got shut down from COVID, and it was like in a week, we lost like 40 shows, and it was just like,
Jeez.
It was one of those things where it's like, man, like the record dropped 1 month ago, and like we're on that big push to promote the new record that we put years into making sure it was perfect for everybody to hear, and then just all of a sudden just hit a wall. So like that was a big. I was bummed out a little bit.
Yeah,
that was a big.
Y'all, the last time I saw Drew was at the acoustic lunch at Shep's Barbecue in Belton, and I told him then, I was like, man, I've just delayed my album for the third time, you know? And Drew looks at me, he's like, well, at least you didn't release one right before COVID hit.
Yeah. No, man, hey, you know what? A lot better to delay it than for it to come out. I mean, like, and you know, there's a lot of people who've been delaying stuff. And like, I mean, like even Top Gun was supposed to come out like in July of last year, and it's still not out.
I forgot all about that, to be honest.
I mean, there's like all these movies and stuff because all the movie theaters shut down. Mm-hmm. And like so many musicians had albums that were supposed to come out, and instead of putting the albums out, they kind of like released a song here and there to kind of wait it out and see how much they could drag it out before everything opened back up, because you don't want to drop a record and just completely miss out on the release tour.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, you saw a lot of bands that were putting out singles instead of putting out records because you you completely missed out on the touring aspect of the release.
I'm all about highlighting you today, but I am going to take one selfish plug moment here on that note and tell everybody that my albums will be out May 19th on digital.
Dude, that's tomorrow.
Yeah, so it's coming quick. It's coming quick. I think last time I previewed it on the podcast, I was like February 21st, and then we had to delay again. So I'm telling the audience, it's for real this time. It's for real. It's turning into my own Chinese democracy, but we got it out there. But you mentioned a few minutes ago, right before we started the episode, the Neon, and I just blanked what day you did them on.
Neon Mondays.
Mondays, yeah. Kind of tell me about it, because I tuned into 2 or 3 of those at least, and those are pretty cool. What kind of gave you the idea for that?
Yeah, so when everything shut down in March, I had been doing live streams every Wednesday. I used to do Whiskey Jam Wednesday, and I would do every Wednesday night. I would sit there and play one song. And so when everything shut down, I was like, man, it'd kind of be cool to like cross promote with other radio stations and with other artists. And so I don't know if you remember like all the radio stations that started doing the live streams. Well, the beginning of all that was Eric Rains at Coke FM and me. I called Eric and I was like, hey, what if we put together like a live stream series on the Coke page? And so Eric and I kind of got that started. And then like Christy at K-Star and Conroe, she was like, I think she was the second one on board, and we got it all going to where we were doing other radio stations, and we were getting other artists playing the radio station pages also. But I was like, it'd be kind of cool to have other artists on my page. And so they would basically be telling their audience about my page, and hopefully they would come over and watch it on my page. And then all my fans that are on my page would be seeing these other artists and go follow them on their social media pages. And so I started reaching out to other artists that I knew, and it was originally going to be like a month or two. And because we didn't know how long COVID was going to be shut down at the beginning. So it was originally going to be like, I think it was originally a month, and I lined up 4 other artists to do Neon Mondays with me. And then after a month went by, we realized it was going to last a little longer. I extended it through August. And so every week I had a different artist on, and we'd kind of spend an hour just playing songs and talking about their careers and talking about kind of stories that we had together, and just kind of hanging out and kind of letting people see the behind the scenes of what we were doing. Because like everybody comes out to shows and sees the show, but people don't really realize kind of all the other stuff that goes on. Like in Texas specifically, all the artists are friends. Like everybody knows each other. It is a very small, tight knit community.
Yeah.
And everybody hangs out, everybody's friends. And so like being able to like pull the audience into the conversation where we're telling stories about us getting drunk together and like us writing songs and us like going golfing or whatever it was. And so I think that was kind of cool because it was different. It wasn't the same thing where like some people were doing their weekly Facebook Live or whatever, where it was like they were playing their own songs or their same cover songs over and over and over again. So every week that you turn in, you'd see the same thing. But when you pull in like a different artist and you're talking about your relationships, and it's different every week. So it incentivizes people to kind of keep on tuning in and see, like learn about other artists that they may know about, but not know their story, or they may not even know about at all.
That's very true. And, something I usually do at the beginning of these episodes is I kind of tell the audience how I discovered or met the artist that's on the episode. And for you, it's weird. I've related this single event to, I think, 3 different episodes, but I met you at the Hurricane Harvey relief show at, I just blanked on the name of the venue, but Big Texas. Yeah, up in Spring. And it was, we were back there. It was like Micah Cheatham, Rich O'Toole, a few other guys. We were all sitting at a table, and Drew was kind of the one that put me on the spot. He asked me right there, he said, is this something you do as a hobby, or are you looking to do this as a career? And, I'd been songwriting for roughly a year, so I wasn't like fully involved yet, but I was kind of like really wanting to do it. And I was like, man, if people are starting to ask me that, I need to have an answer for them. So that was kind of the moment where I was like, all right, Garrett, get serious about this. But you mentioned how small of a world the Texas music scene is. And it's true, because I remember I was at a rehearsal with Jared Johnson one time, and he was in a hurry to get out, and he's like, yeah, I got to get over to Drew Fish's place. And I forgot who it was, but the next week I was talking to someone. It's like, yeah, I was doing some songwriting with Drew Fish last week. I'm like, dang, man, everybody's got to go write some songs with Drew Fish. So it really is a small world and a big state. But kind of tell me like how you got involved with songwriting and what really kicked it off for you.
Man, for me, it started in high school, and there was, I feel like for almost every songwriter out there, the story is very similar, where it's like, well, there was this girl. And then for every songwriter, the second part of that story is it didn't work.
Yeah.
So I don't know. The first song I wrote was, I believe, freshman or sophomore year of high school. And I'd played music for a long time and loved singing and playing songs, but I never really tried to write anything until then. And I was like, man, the perfect Valentine's Day present for her would be writing her a song. And for anybody that is planning on writing a girl a song, dude, I don't know. There's a curse behind it. I don't know what it is. It does not work. But yeah, so I wrote that song, and then I had some buddies that I went to high school with, and we kind of figured that we'd put a band together. So we started kind of like just practicing and like doing garage stuff, and we got an opening gig for a show that the band's called Full Service, and which, if you know who Full Service is, they are not country. They are like very not country. And so we were playing country songs, and it was like one of those, it was a weird matchup. Great band, just weird match. And so we that was our first show ever. Is our drummer had taken lessons from the Full Service drummer, and so they were playing, like, I think it might have been their CD release show or something. They asked us if we wanted to open. And yeah, that was our first show ever. And then when we got into college, we were like, man, we should start playing the bars on 6th Street because they don't ID the bands. So we started playing bars on 6th Street, and we were getting free drinks and drinking way more than we should have before we went on stage. And we started playing like fraternity parties. We'd play, I went to UT, so we'd play our fraternity party, and some of the guys, like we went to high school, some of our like best friends went to like TCU and A&M and LSU and Ole Miss, and like we would drive to all these different schools and play fraternity parties at other schools that we just knew people at. So it kind of became like an excuse to go visit our friends, and we got paid to do it and got drunk, and the girls all loved us because we were the band. And so it was like, man, this is great. And when we graduated college, our parents told us that we needed to get jobs. And that was like, okay, why don't we just make music our job? And so that was kind of when we realized we needed to like kind of buckle down and put a record out, and went into the studio and cut our first record with Adam Oder at Yellow Dog Studios. And so we cut half the record was cut at Yellow Dog and half of it was cut at Bismo. And Adam's awesome. Adam's a great producer, great guy. Literally one of those guys that always has a smile on his face. And we were doing Reckless Kelly Celebrity Softball Jam one year, and he just got like laid out at home base, and he jumps back up and just gives the guy a big hug. And it was like, dude, that's Adam. That's Adam. That is like the best description of Adam right there.
Good sense of humor too. I discovered him through the Bad Truth podcast. So yeah. And so Adam produced our first 3 records. We just put out a 3rd record, and we put out, the first record was a 6-song EP. The second record was a 6-song EP, and then our first full length record came out in February, right before COVID. And that's kind of how we ended up here. We put out 2 radio singles off of our first record, and then I believe 3 radio singles off of our second record, and I think we're on our 4th radio single off of the 3rd record. Awesome. Well, speaking of radio singles, y'all have one out right now, I believe.
Yeah, we just released a song called One Beer at a Time, and the first week that it was out, it debuted at 69. It was the highest debut on the chart that week, which was awesome. And we're already in the top 50, and we're 3 weeks in, so I cannot complain. It's flying up, and we hope everybody likes it as much as we do. The radio stations seem to be liking it; they're all adding it, and when you get that many ads that quick off the bat, it's a good sign. So hopefully, we'll take it all the way up and make another number 1.
I think it definitely could, and I'm going to play that for everyone right here. This is One Beer at a Time.
Another day out on the lake, nothing too exciting. Line in the water, but the fish ain't really biting. Even if they never come, I don't really mind. 'Cause I got long necks on ice, and I'm taking life 1 beer at a time. The first one gets me started, and I'm feeling pretty good. Second leads to 3 like I knew it probably would. 4th one goes down quicker, and by 5 I'm feeling fine. Taking life 1 beer at a time. Lucky pack in the cooler and some steaks that I can grill. Could go to bed real early, but I don't believe I will. Think I'll just stay here and drink with some good old friends of mine. 'Cause life is better lived one beer at a time. First one gets me started and I'm feeling pretty good. Second leads to three like I knew it probably would. Fourth one goes down quicker and by five I'm feeling fine. Taking life one beer at a time. Sacred, slow down and enjoy yourself. You know it's time well wasted. First one gets me started and I'm feeling pretty good. Second leads to three like I knew probably would. Fourth one goes down quicker and by five I'm feeling fine. First one gets me started and I'm feeling pretty good. Second leads to three like I knew probably would. Fourth one goes down quicker and by five I'm feeling fine. Taking life one beer at a time.
So you've had some really good co-writes. I kind of mentioned that you've worked with a lot of people on the scene, and you've had co-writes of people like Pam Tillis and Genevieve Allen, who was on episode 15 of this podcast. She's one of my favorite country singers out there. Tell us about some of the songs you've written with other songwriters and some of your favorites.
Man, most of, in terms of other artists, most of the songs that I've put out that have been written with other artists are with Curtis Grimes. Curtis and I go back, man, like 15 years. Curtis used to play at El Arroyo on Thursday nights. El Arroyo is like a little Mexican food restaurant in Austin, a little Tex-Mex place. And man, back in the day, like Pat Green used to play there, Corey Marr used to play there, and about 15 years ago, Curtis and I were playing there, and like Thursdays they had dollar margaritas. So it was,
oh wow,
it was like that. It was that kind of night. So like it got rowdy, and so Curtis and I would play for 4 hours, passing guitar back and forth, and get paid $50. And our tab would be more than $50 between the two of us. And so we basically played songs to get hammered on margaritas every Thursday, and it was great. But yeah, and I've written, so Curtis's first top 3 radio single was a song called Irresponsible that we wrote together. And then our first top 3 radio single was a song called Sounds Like a Plan that Curtis was a co-writer on. And on the new record, Curtis was a co-writer on Lone Star Saturday Night, and I know he was a co-writer on something else. I'm going blank. Man, I'm going blank. He's a co-writer on another one of the songs on the new record.
Too many margaritas.
High Rollin' Home.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. High Rollin' Home is another. So High Rollin' Home is actually a song that Curtis and I wrote with the intention of getting Willie Nelson to sing on it. So like if you listen to the song, there's a lot of like Willie Nelson references in it. And man, we tried hard to get Willie to sing on it, and we're not able to pull it off before we put the record out. But man, if anybody knows Willie Nelson, tell him he should sing on it.
Oh, that'd be so cool. Man, Irresponsible made it pretty far, dude. That was a pretty big song.
Yeah, Irresponsible it was kind of what started Curtis's career. And then like, so Sounds Like a Plan. The first song that we put out that was top 3 with Curtis as a co-writer. The other co-writers on that were Roger Brown and Byron Hill. And so that song is actually how I met Byron and Roger. And Roger's a co-writer on 5 of the songs on our new record, and Byron's a co-writer on 2 of the new songs on our record. Roger and I co-wrote Every Damn Time, that was #1 radio single. One Beer at a Time, that's our current radio single. He was a co-writer on Devil You Know, that was also a top 3 radio single. Devil You Know also had Tommy Connors on it. Every Damn Time also had Chris Colston on it. And then Better Place, that was our first #1 off the new record. It was a song I wrote with Byron. And Byron is like, there are people that like you grow up listening to their songs and you kind of like idolize them and you put them in this like kind of legendary like bubble. And when you meet him, you're like, please don't let me down. And Byron's one of those guys that somehow passes your expectations. He's just the nicest guy ever. I mean, you're talking about somebody who's in like the Songwriter Hall of Fame. He's got like 34 top 10 radio singles. I mean, he wrote George Strait's first Full Hearted Memory.
Wow.
And he wrote Born Country by Alabama, Nothing On But the Radio by Gary Allen. And so it's kind of intimidating meeting somebody like that where you're like, man, I've put you so high that I'm just praying that like you stay that high. And somehow he is like one of the greatest guys in the world, and glad that I get to call him a friend. Roger Brown's the exact same way. Roger wrote 2 George Strait songs, 5 Randy Travis songs, wrote songs Keith Whitley, Kenny Chesney, Trace Adkins, John Michael Montgomery. I mean, if they were a commercial act in the 80s and 90s, Roger's probably written them a song. And it's like Roger. I mean, he actually called me today, and I forgot to call him back. Yeah. But yeah, no, Roger's like probably one of my closest friends in the music industry, period. He's one of the guys that whenever there's something to complain about, Roger and I complain about each other. And then Tommy Connors is another guy who was a co-writer on Beverly. You know, Tommy's written songs for Chris Ledoux and Willie Nelson. And Roger and Tommy actually wrote a song for John Michael Montgomery called Just Like a Rodeo. And yeah, I mean, they're the guys who wrote all the songs that you grew up listening to. And so when you get the opportunity to write with people, it's just kind of like when you sit down and think about it, you're like, how did I end up here? Like, how did this work out? So I've been very, very, very fortunate to be able to write with a lot of incredible people and be able to sit in the same room and learn from these guys and let them teach me. And it's also crazy how like you go into these rooms and like you'll say, hey, I don't think we should do it that way. And they're like, okay, like what are you thinking? And you're like, man, I'm literally telling a guy that's got like 34 top 10s that he's doing it wrong. But no, I mean, they're all 3 of those guys are incredible guys. And I mean, I'm not even listing everybody, but like those are the guys that have been co-writers on most of the songs that we've put out. And so getting most of the songs on the new record, I guess. And so I get to write with those guys and getting to learn from them, and then like getting to see the projects kind of come together and their take on it, and seeing how like what I've done previously. I mean, music is kind of like an ever changing art where it's like if you're doing the same thing over and over again, then you're not getting better and you're not learning and you're not improving. And so like getting to be surrounded by people who have seen all these different careers and how different things that different people did and what worked and what didn't work. And so like getting to be surrounded with guys that have all this experience that can kind of like you can just learn from. There's always more to learn from them. And I've been very fortunate to kind of end up in that circle.
Well, I hope our listeners will look up their work, because I would say almost every single guest I've had on the podcast and quite a bit of our listening base all say the same thing. So I grew up on 80s and 90s country, and that's what got them into it. And to hear some of the stuff that they've been a part of, I mean, that's a pretty stacked resume. Yeah,
and also another thing is like in terms of just like going back to the community thing is that. So I put together a songwriters retreat twice a year, and a lot of the guys we've kind of gotten to the point where it's hard to bring new people in because the people who have been before don't want to not come again. So like when I send out the invites, we always invite the people who have previously been first, and so it's like by the time that they RSVP, the list is full because like people want to keep on coming back because it's become a family. And I mean, like John Stork and Curtis Grimes have been there from day one. John and Curtis. Actually, the songwriters retreat was Curtis's idea. He was the one who reached out to me and was like, "Man, you got a place in East Texas that you have access to. We should put together a songwriters retreat there." And so we started the songwriters retreat, and from day one, John and Curtis have been to every single one. And I think it might have been the third songwriters retreat that Roger drove in from Nashville to come to.
Wow.
And when he came in, he was like, man, y'all have something here that like doesn't exist anymore. He's like the camaraderie and the support, and like he's like like just the vibe that you have going. Like this doesn't exist anymore. And next thing you know, it's kind of turned into a thing where we actually cut the artist list down. Originally, we had just a list. It was once we hit 30 people, then nobody else could come. And now we've got it split to where it's 15 artists and 15 songwriters. And so if you're not one of the first 15 artists, then you don't even get in, because every right's kind of paired up with a different songwriter. So you've got guys like, I mean, Don Rollins has a Grammy for 5 o'clock somewhere, and Don Rollins is coming out. And you got guys like Luke Reed who've written songs for Gary Allen and George Strait. And you got like all these songwriters who literally their resumes are mine. You're like, why are they coming to our retreat? But yeah, they all come out, and we generally have 15 songwriters and 15 artists, and we pair up a different songwriter with an artist every morning, and the afternoon nights are kind of a free for all. But it's become a really tight knit community, and man, that's where Genevieve and I wrote that song that she put on her record, and the written songs of like. Just off the top of my head, I know I'm missing people, but like When Williams Comes, Kylie Fry, David Adam Burns, Curtis Grimes, Jake Worthington. Oh man,
like Julia Hatfield out there, right?
John Stewart, Julia Hatfield. But yeah, Holly Tucker, Matt Castillo, James Land, Dustin Saunier, Bradley Banning. Man, I know I'm missing people, but I mean it's become like a family, and it's incredible how it's evolved over from day one of us just decided we're going to invite a ton of people out to write songs, and now it's become like a very, very tight family, and everybody's supportive of each other and helps each other out. And you see like in addition to cross promotion, it's just like, I mean, we're all friends. In a lot of music situations, you end up like everybody becomes friends, playing like festivals and stuff together, and you drink and hang out and whatever. But like we're in the music industry, like people think that you work on weekends. You work 7 days a week. I mean, it's never ends. You're working every single day of the week. You might not be playing shows every single day of the week, but when you're not playing shows, you might be on like a radio tour, stopping at radio stations, or like, I mean, doing some sort of like promo or press or whatever. And so when you do get downtime, I mean, like, yeah, everybody tries to hang out, but it's kind of hard. But when you have a set time, it's like, hey, this is the garage retreat. This is when everybody's coming out. Everybody clears their calendar for it. Then everybody comes out, and like once we get done riding for the day, people get to go play golf or go out on the boat or go play beer pong or like, I don't know, whatever they're doing. But it's like people get to become friends and kind of build personal relationships that are deeper than just seeing each other at festivals.
That's really cool, because that's something unique that you don't really find everywhere. Kind of skipping around here a little bit, I think we should throw in a song here, talking about all the songwriting. How about we throw Every Damn Time in here? Perfect.
Yeah. So this is perfect for Every Damn Time, because this was a song that was written at the Writers Retreat, and I had never done a duet before, and I had told Roger that I wanted to write a duet. So we went in to go write a duet, and Chris Colston walked in right as we were sitting down. We're like, Chris, come on, join us. So Chris Colston, Roger Brown, I sat down, and Roger played the chord progression and was like, my idea is just like every damn time that she is there, it's just like it reminds you of how much you love them and why you love them. And so both Chris and I like it. We kind of took off and wrote the song. And right when we got done, I was like, man, who do you think we could get to sing on? And Roger was like, man, I think Pam Tillis would do a great job. And I was like, dude, if you can pull that off, I'm 100% in. And so Roger was like, man, so Roger's been in Nashville for 30 years. So he's got, he's built relationships with pretty much everybody up there. And he called me back like a week later and was like, man, Pam's husband is her manager. And Roger was like, man, I talked to Pam's husband, and he wants to make it happen, and he's going to give you a shout. And I was like, dude, I will believe this when it actually happens. So I flew up to Nashville, and we cut the vocals at County Q up there. And like even when and man, I was talking about it earlier. Another thing is like you kind of like you're like, man, I really hope they're actually as cool and as great as I have them in my head. And Pam walked in and like, oh my gosh, her and her husband and like their entire crew were the greatest people ever. There's not a bad thing anybody could say about those people. Like literally every single one of them are incredible. And she came in and killed it and wanted to make sure it was perfect, exactly how we wanted it. And man, we got done. It was still like one of those things where it's like, man, I still can't believe that actually happened. And like, I don't think it really settled in until I heard it on the radio. And I was like, dude, this is pretty crazy. I got a Grammy Award winner, like a member of the Grand Ole Opry, singing a duet with me on the radio right now. That's pretty crazy.
I remember I was listening to it this past year, and I was in the truck with my wife, and I was like, you remember that maybe it was Memphis song? She's like, yeah, I know who Pam Tillis is. I was like, hey, check this out.
Yeah, I mean, like she is awesome. She was like amazing. No, it's always a very, very pleasant surprise when people are even cooler than you thought they were going to be.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really cool. I'm going to play that here. So this is Every Damn Time.
Sometimes it seems like it's begging me to just drive away, pack my things and leave, be wild and free, hoping everything will turn out okay. Just when I think I might go, the thought of you brings me back home. Every damn time I look into your eyes, all I can think about is holding you tight, loving all night for the rest of my life. Every crazy thing I could ever dream never seems worth doing. I'd rather stay here by your side every damn time. So what's it gonna hurt if we cut loose, take it out on the town? Have a couple drinks, maybe it'll be just what we need to wind down. Just when I think I might go, the thought of you brings me back home. Every damn time I look into your eyes, all I can think about is holding you tight, loving all night for the rest of my life. Every crazy thing I could ever dream never seems worth doing. I'd rather stay here by your side every damn time. Every damn time I look into your eyes, all I can think about is holding you tight, loving all night for the rest of my life. Every crazy thing I could ever dream never seems worth doing. I'd rather stay here by your side. Every damn time I look into your eyes, all I can think about is holding you tight, loving all night for the rest of my life. Every crazy thing I could ever dream never seems worth doing. I'd rather stay here by your side every damn time. damn time. Every damn time.
All right, so rewinding back pretty far, for those of you listening to this who are under the age of 25, rewinding is what we used to do on our tapes. In 2018, I'm sorry, y'all, I just watched the last Blockbuster and it kind of broke my heart to watch it. But in 2018, you performed on national TV for the Cowboys and Saints game. I really just tuned in to see you perform. I didn't actually watch the Cowboys game. So congrats, you got a Texans fan to tune in for Dallas. How did that whole thing come about? Like, how'd you make that happen?
Man, actually, it's actually a pretty funny story. But so it was Thanksgiving. It was the day before Thanksgiving. It was Wednesday before Thanksgiving, and I got a phone call, and it was from a number I didn't know. I think it was I want to say it was a Florida number, and like I answered it, and they were like, "Hey, is this Drew Fish?" And I was like, "Who's asking?" And they were like, "Well, we're with Fox, and we wanted to see if you wanted to do the intro for the Dallas Cowboys Saints game next week." Which, by the way, the Cowboys and the Saints were both like killing it. Like they were like they were like two of the best teams in the entire league. And I was sitting there and I was like, somebody's messing with me. Yeah. I was like, there's no way. I'm like, this is so. I know at the time, but I think to date that was the most viewed Thursday night football game in history.
Wow.
And there were 22 million viewers. And so, like, I mean, like, it was a big game. And I was sitting there, I totally thought they were messing with me. And he was like, okay, well, and also it was a Florida number. So I was like, man, I'm pretty sure Fox is based in like Connecticut or Massachusetts or somewhere up there. And so, or Los Angeles or something. And they're like, okay, well, the vice president of Fox Sports is about to call you. And he was like, just make sure you pick it up. It's going to be about 2 minutes. And I hung up the phone, and like literally 10 seconds later, a phone call came in from like Connecticut or Massachusetts, like some Northeast state. And I was like, there's no way that this is like real. And like, I answered it, and he was like, hey man, I was just, I think Paul called you and told you that I was going to be giving you a call. And I was like, yeah. And he was like, okay, so we want you to write the script for. Well, actually, I think I asked to write it. They were like, we want you to sing a song. Do you have a song that would fit well for a Dallas Cowboys Saints game? And I was like, can I write something that's like directly related to it? And they were like, man, we'd love that. So they were like, okay, well, we need a venue. And so I'd recommended Copeland Dance Hall. And so they got in contact with Abby at Copeland and lined it up for us to come out there and shoot it on that Sunday. So like, this was Wednesday. This was on Wednesday. On that Sunday, they literally flew an entire team down to shoot the video at Copeland that Sunday.
Wow.
And so like I showed up at Copeland, still like it seemed legit, but I still like was a little bit hesitant because I was like, how did they just randomly reach out to me? And but we showed up at Copeland and we shot it and we got done, and I took the tracks down to Houston to my buddy Mr. Stormy Cooper has a studio down there, and Lyndon Hughes had, I guess, mixed the tracks, and we sent them out to Fox, and they pieced it all together, and they got a band from New Orleans and basically kind of like combined. They took like the band from New Orleans literally sang a song I wrote, which was kind of crazy. But yeah, so like we wrote the song specifically for the broadcast, and man, it was one of those things where it was like I was sitting at El Arroyo. Back to El Arroyo.
Yeah.
So I was sitting at El Arroyo watching it, and right when it came on, my phone just was like bing bing. It was like one of those things where I was like, man, this is actually happening, because like other people are seeing this too. It's not just me seeing this; like other people are seeing it. But yeah, no, that was awesome. It was that was our national television debut, and got to play in front of 22 million people.
I barely caught. I don't remember who I heard from saying that it was about to be on, and I mean, it was literally like a minute before the broadcast happened. So like somebody, it was either on Facebook or text or something. Someone's like, hey, check this out. So I turned on the TV and it showed you playing, and then that was it. Like I barely caught it, but I remember when that happened. So I guess when a venue, you're trying to get booked and they ask you how big of an audience you've been able to pull, I guess you can just drop 22 million casually on them.
Man, we've been fortunate to be in some like just ridiculous situations. I mean, like, dude, we got to play FedEx Field in Maryland, and like that's like people are like, "What's the biggest venue you played?" I'm like, NFL Stadium.
See, I got a call from a Florida number today, and they were just asking about my warranty. So yeah, I'll be waiting on that Florida number.
Yeah, they weren't giving you a free cruise,
right? Yeah, something like that. You get that foghorn that blares in your ear. Well, so I'm going to jump forward a little bit to music videos. So fun fact for the audience here, Drew and I are actually in a music video together. We weren't there together. We weren't in the same room, but if anyone has seen Jared Johnson's Closer Than They Appear, we're actually both in that.
I didn't know you were in that.
Yeah, it's because you have to know where to look. We had terrible lighting in the part I was in, and so you see my silhouette just creepily standing there, and I'm just like off in the background. But yeah, Drew's in that, Ray Wiley's in that, obviously Jared, it's his video. It's a pretty cool video, so everyone be sure to check that out. But you've had quite a few music videos. What's that experience been like for you?
Man, music videos are so much fun. They're like the most stressful thing leading up to it. But once you start shooting them, they're so much fun. I mean, like for me, at least for us, literally every single music video, we will have everything planned out. It'll be perfect. It'll be ready to go. And then like the day before, everything falls apart. Yeah. And it's like scrambling to make it all work. And then somehow we pull it together and make it happen. And, but like once the shoot starts, it's like just have fun and have a good time. It's like nobody wants to watch you like not having a good time. So I mean, like normally we open up the bar and have a good time and enjoy ourselves and film it and like the directors do a good enough job to making it look like we actually planned it out rather than just out there drinking.
It's so true. As I still remember the day I went down to do the second half of my Port Aransas music video, and the sky was just like dark gray, and the weather app said 50% chance of rain. And I'm on the ferry getting into the island, and it was still 50%. I was just like, dude, I was like, we got to get this thing filmed and get out. It turned out fine, but that sinking feeling of what could go wrong today.
Dude, I don't know what it is, but like somehow what can go wrong will go wrong with music videos. I mean, like when we did the Devil You Know music video, it was like, actually, so we shot two separate videos for Devil You Know. We shot one that was like a flash mob in the middle of 6th Street. And we were like, okay, Thursday night, it's college night. There's going to be a ton of college kids out. So we're going to film it Thursday night on 6th Street. Well, it was like pouring down rain that night. And we had like 30 couples show up to like do the dancing part. And we were like, well, we just got to shoot it tonight because literally the film crew's here, the dancers are here, like everything's good to go. But it was like pouring down rain. And so like literally right when we were about to start shooting, like it had stopped raining about 10 minutes before. And so there was like an opening in the rain just long enough for us to do it. And when everybody came out and started dancing, there were like all these random people that kind of just started dancing and joining in too. We were like, yes, it worked. But like the Devil You Know music video when we shot at Cheatham Street, it was like, dude, it was pouring down rain that day too. And it was like, man, how does this always happen where like anything that can go wrong?
So if I ever need a rainy setting for a music video, I'm just going to call you up. Hey, you want to come be in the video?
Yeah. So actually, the flood music video was not raining, but the flood music video, which is, I guess, water related, we did. I wrote that song Memorial Day weekend of 2015 when the big rains were coming through the hill country. I'm in Austin. The Stevie Ray Vaughan statue is halfway underwater. If that gives at 15th and Lamar, there's this football stadium. The football stadium was like 20 feet underwater. Oh, to give you like an idea of how much water was in Austin. I mean, like Wimberley, which is where Yellow Dog Studios is, Wimberley was 54 feet underwater. 54 feet. Google it. That's
That
a fact. It was
I
54
remember
feet
that.
underwater.
Hayes County as a whole. I mean, that whole area just got slammed.
I mean, like, you couldn't go down 35 because 35 in San Marcos was underwater, which 35 is way above water level. And so yeah, I mean, like, there was a lot of water. And I wrote flood sitting on South Congress, just watching the rain come down. Because I mean, couldn't leave the house because everything was underwater. And so when we shot the music video, I was like, man, it'd be cool if we could like kind of make it look like it was flooding. And my cousin was like, dude, what you should do is build a set on the boat lift and then just drop the boat lift in the water so the set floods.
Wow.
And so that's what we did. So if you watch the music video, there's like literally the room that I'm playing in is flooding because we're dropping it into a lake.
So you were reading my mind because I was going to transition into the flood song with that video, but I had no idea that's how y'all did that. That's really cool.
Yeah, so we just built a room on a boat lift, and like if you look at it, like we hung pictures on the wall and put in like furniture and stuff, and it looks like it's a room flooding. And yeah, and man, that was kind of, we did a lot of like kind of, I wouldn't say like special effects, but like we did a lot of like kind of optical illusions in that video that turned out really cool. And I mean, and another thing about videos is that like videos are like an excuse to have like your friends come out and like be part of it. And so like if you look at our videos, like Bradley Banning is the lead role in the Living for the Weekend video, and actually Aaron Johnson is the lead girl role in that too, both musicians. And then in the Better Place music video, we got Wynn Williams. And I mean, like, yeah, if you look, Ray Benson was in our first music video for Small Price to Pay.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah, if you go look through the videos, you'll see little cameos of other artists. Yeah, dude. Okay, so the first music video for Small Price to Pay, Ray Benson is the gas station attendant at the very beginning of the music video. It starts off where he goes in and buys a box of wine, sits on the counter. Ray Benson's the gas station attendant, but the gas station wouldn't close down for us to film that. So like they were still open and operating when we were filming it. And some girl walks in, like gets all of her stuff and goes and sits in the counter in front of Ray, which Ray is a very recognizable person.
Yeah.
He's not like, yeah. And she sits all of her stuff on the counter, and Ray goes, "Oh, no, I don't work here." And she was like, "Oh, you should be an actor." And I'm like, are you completely clueless to the fact that there's literally lights on him and cameras on him, and like you're walking in the middle of like a set, and like it's like,
and even if you didn't know what he looked like, you would at least know what he sounds like. I mean, he's recognizable in two ways.
Yeah. No, but like it's also like there were literally lights and cameras on him. Like, how clueless can he be? But yeah. I mean, I think, dude. I mean, Ray has a ton of. I think Ray has like 18 Grammys. Jeez. Like it's like he has like it's something stupid, and so it's like you just walked up to an 18-time Grammy Award winner with your groceries and asked him to check you out.
It's funny. I'll actually be up in Nashville for a couple days next week and or later this week. And I was, man, what is with me not getting the right weeks today? This week I will be in Nashville for a bit. And I told my wife, I said, here's the deal. I said, if I saw somebody that was famous 5 to, 30 years ago, that realm, I would probably be like, oh, hey, look, that's so-and-so. Somebody who's like super famous right now, especially in country music, I'd probably just like walk right by and not even catch it. I'm just like,
I would recognize like Luke Combs.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I'd probably recognize songwriters before.
Yeah.
Before like current artists.
That's funny.
And then also William Clark Green's merch guy was the lead role in the Small Price to Pay music video too.
Oh wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, Tyler.
Well, on the flood video, I was just wondering, did you have to get everything in one take just because of the way y'all were doing that with the boat lift?
No, so we filmed the whole thing with the boat lift out of the water, and then like we filmed like 4 times that way, and then we like sunk it down halfway and filmed like 4 times that way, and then we sunk it all, and then we only had 1 take to get the submersion of everything falling.
Wow.
So when it was actually dropping down and you saw like the dresser fall over and the lamp fall over and everything, I mean, when the lamp hit the water and broke, it was like there was only one take of getting that stuff, so we only had one take for that part. But when you have one take and you've got the entire song, then you can just you find the best part.
Yeah.
We also had I think we had 3 cameras going. I think we had 3 cameras going when we shot that too. So we had different angles of stuff.
Well, it's funny. Before I play the song for everybody, I'll have the audience get a little trivia fact. And I sent a screenshot of this to Drew when it happened. At the end of the year, Spotify kind of gives you the what you listen to the most plays. And so Flood's an older song, and it's one of those songs like for me, how a song's been around a while, but you don't like really listen to it until later. So that one, after we did the Texas Music Life thing for the Save Our Stages, you had played that song, and I was like, I need to go listen to that one again. That's a good song. And I did, and I put it on repeat a couple times. I was just like, I jammed it out quite a bit. Didn't realize how much it was. I think it was my number 5 most played song on my Spotify, and all 4 above it were like Motley Crue and Scorpions and stuff like that. So sounded nothing like the other 4. But I don't really have many hot takes on this podcast. But that one, I have told people it's as good or better than any Josh Abbott song or Randy Rogers. You could put that on Matter of Time and it would fit in that album. I mean, it's just an all-around good song. I appreciate it. For sure. Well,
I appreciate that. Yeah, man. Flood is still one of the songs. I mean, like, if it's definitely up there. It might be our most requested song at shows. It was our first number 1 too. It was the first song that we had hit number 1 on the Texas charts, and man, I know that I'm probably jumping the gun here because normally somebody says, "What's your like favorite song that you've done," or "What's like the most memorable song you've done?" And like, I'm not going to say that Flood's my favorite song because I don't know if I have a favorite song, but Flood is definitely one of my favorite songs. And like certain songs kind of hold like value for different reasons. Yeah. And like Flood, I mean, like just like what was going on in Texas when I wrote it is one thing that kind of like makes that song stand out. But another thing is like it was our first number 1, which, I mean, you never have a second first number 1. So like, Flood will always be one of those songs. It doesn't matter how far down the road we are, it'll still be in our set, and it'll still be like one of those songs that like it was kind of a defining moment of my career.
That's really cool. When RJ Paxton was on here on the very first episode, I think we said something to the effect of, when people ask you what your own favorite song is, it's kind of like somebody trying to make you pick your favorite kid. It's easier to pick which kid has disappointed you the most, but you love them all. So it's kind of hard to pick a favorite, but I'm going to play this for everybody. And if y'all haven't checked out the music video yet, definitely go do that. But this is Flood.
Keeps running through my head. All those lies you thought I bought. I've become a stranger to my bed. Standing on the porch, out in the pouring rain. Stuck here in this nightmare, can't live with all the pain. Tried to erase the memories, tried to mend this broken heart. They keep coming back to haunt me as the flood begins to start. You walked right back through that door, same way that you did before. Before you left me here alone, lying next to me in bed, but you were wishing you were gone. Standing on the porch, with all the pain of all those lonely nights when you were right there by his side. Now the water's rising, I can't let it go this time. Try to erase the memories, try to mend this broken heart, but they keep coming back to haunt me as the flood begins to start.
What are some of your favorite venues and towns to perform? Because I mean, it's you've had the range of going out to El Arroyo and going to FedEx Field. I mean, you've had kind of a wide range of places to play. What have been some of your favorite ones?
Man, so I think that one of my favorite is definitely a place called Old Saloon in Immigrant, Montana, and it's the reason I'm saying it is because it's one of those places like you literally like you're on stage and when you look out, you're between two mountains. You're like I guess the Rockies split right there. They call it Paradise Valley, so you're like in between like two mountain ranges, and like it's just you're like looking out, you're like, dude, this is a picture. Like this is unreal. Like okay, so if you follow me on social media, you know that like I'm like an outdoors person. I like being outdoors. I like outdoors type stuff. And so like that's one of the things that like I mean when I think of Old Saloon and Immigrant, it's just like one of those things where you're like, dude, like you'd see this in a picture and you'd be like, oh, they probably edited the picture. Like it's like that. It's just beautiful. Also, I mean, like in terms of like just cool places that we've played. I mean, I played in Saint-Agrève, France, and that was so like that's not even like a big city in Europe. I mean, like the population of the town is like my guess is like 1,500 people. Like it's small, and so like you show up there and you're like, man, we are out here. We're out here. Like we're like by like the bullet train, we were like 2.5 hours out of Paris.
Wow.
And yeah, so I mean, like we were not in a populated area, and then even from the bullet train drops you off in Leon, and then you're another hour from Saint-Agrève. You got to drive through these windy roads out into the hills, and so I mean, like you get out there, and you're like we're in the middle of nowhere, and like you get on stage, and there were 4,000 people there, and like it was just like what, dude, it was one of those like mind blowing, like I don't understand what's happening, like there are times when like you're like, dude, this is really cool. But there's other times that you're just like, I don't get it. Like, I don't understand what is happening right now. And like, it was one of those, it's like, we're like halfway around the world. There's 4,000 people here who are singing every single word. And then you get off stage and you go to the merch booth and the people start lining up and you're like, hey, what's your name? And that photo. And you're like, yeah, what's your name? And that photo. And you're like, these people don't speak English at all.
And they know your songs.
They were singing the words to the songs and they don't speak English. And it's like, I guess the easiest way to like compare it to like something that like Americans would understand is like everybody knows words like Despacito or like I don't know, like that's probably the most recent one that I can think of. But it's like there's all these college kids who are singing Despacito and they don't know what it means.
Right.
Like I don't know what it means. But they know the words. And then it's like the French version of that, I guess. So like you go over there and you're like, these people literally don't speak English, but they know all the words to your song.
It's so weird. Like in marketing analytics too, like tracking where things take off. I mean, like you could make 100 phone calls in a 30-minute radius of your house, but then like you run an ad or something. And like for me, I'll run my analytics back. It's like, okay, did I do better in Oklahoma, Texas, Florida? Where did I do better this time? And it's always Brazil or Argentina. Like that's where I'm getting the clicks. And I'm like, how?
Yeah. Man, I still don't. I can't explain it. I know exactly what you're talking about, but I cannot explain it. And but yeah, I mean, like that was another one of those venues where it's just like unreal. And then like, I mean, being from Texas, man, Green Hall is like just like a legendary venue. And so like growing up and like going to concerts at Green Hall, and like we would drive to Green Hall just to go see concerts because even though we saw the band in Austin or wherever, it'd be like, we want to go see the Green Hall show because it was Green Hall. And so like getting to play Green Hall was one of those things where it's like the first time I played Green Hall, which was actually surprising, like one of the first times I'd ever been on stage. And it was like looking out over this crowd and being like, man, this is crazy. Like this is unreal that I'm on this stage. I'm in the oldest dance hall in Texas, and I'm playing songs.
The one, and, that's one that I think on the big three questions that we're going to get to in a bit. I ask, everybody, if you could play anywhere, where would you go? And almost everyone says Green Hall if they haven't played there yet. I mean, it's like the fact that you've gotten to play there is pretty cool.
Yeah, and then like another venue, this one's not a venue, but like, dude, Galveston County Fair. I don't know what it is about Galveston County Fair. Part of it is the people. I mean, the people down there they're all great people. So like such great people. But like Galveston County Fair is like one of those shows that when it shows up on the calendar, that's one of the things that I look forward to more than anything else. I'm like, that's the show that I cannot wait for, is Galveston County Fair. And then also, I mean, like I'm from Austin, so when we play like Stubbs or when we play somewhere in the Austin area, those shows are always fun because all of our friends come out and like it's just there's something about a hometown show that just makes it like special. And like I'd say my favorite venue in Austin that we probably Stubbs. I'd probably say Stubbs. Just because it's kind of the same thing as Green Hall, where it's like a place I grew up going to concerts. And it was like, I used to see bands there. And now I'm playing where I used to, when I was in high school, I was watching concerts here and now I'm playing here. It's just kind of a legendary venue that like, it's like sentimental value of it, I guess.
Stubbs is pretty cool. The only actual show that I've gone to at Stubbs wasn't even a country concert. I was front row for Slash when he came through a few years ago. And I'm not going to say the name of the venue when I say this, because I want to make anyone mad out there. But one attribute to the fact that you've played at these venues, probably more impressive than FedEx Field or Green Hall, is the fact that there's a place in Houston that I've seen many good artists play and could not get more than 5 people to show up. I played, and I think I owed money at this gig at the end of the night. You played at this certain gig in Houston, and at the venue, you had the place full. And I walked in, I pulled out my phone, I texted Jared Johnson, I was like, dude, Drew just packed this place out, man. Like, I've never seen this. So it was...
Dude, I love playing in Houston. But wait, but a minute ago you said that there was you asked them about like a venue that I would want to play. So like, I think every artist has a bucket list venue. And when you hit that bucket list venue, I guess if you've already hit the top, then you've got to make another bucket list venue. But like, I think the highest point of bucket list venues that I could ever have would be Ryman Auditorium. I think playing the Ryman would be, I think the Ryman is my premier bucket list venue. It's like just the amount of history there and like the number of people who stood on that stage and like just the history of country music, the significance that venue has is unparalleled.
It's phenomenal. And for anyone who just now is listening to this podcast, if it's the first time, we're on episode 45, and I think I've had 1, maybe 2 guests who have gotten to perform there. And so it's pretty rare opportunity.
So I'm going to guess John Wolfe.
Kinsey Coppin.
Oh,
yeah.
I did not know Kinsey had played there. And then have you had Randall King on?
I have not. I have somebody that said they might make that happen. Randall probably doesn't know that, so I shouldn't speak out of turn. But it's a possibility.
Yeah, because I know Randall's played there, John Wolfe has played there, Aaron Watson's played there. Man, that might, or Cody Johnson, that might be it from Texas.
Yeah, it's a pretty rare thing.
Yeah.
Well, for anyone that's just now tuning into your music or hearing about you from the podcast, where can people find your music and your shows?
Man, all of our stuff is at drewfish.com, drewfish.com. And due to contracts not being signed, there are a lot of dates that are about to get announced, but we're waiting on signed contracts. And then all of our social media is at Drew Fish Band. We're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat, YouTube, Google Play, Amazon, Pandora, Spotify. Call into your local radio station, request our current radio single, One Beer at a Time, and got to get it to number one. If you want to show the music videos are all up on YouTube or Facebook or wherever you look. But yeah, they're all up on YouTube, and you can see the music videos and follow us, like, subscribe, stay up to date, and come out and see a show.
There you have it. Well, we're going to hit the big three here, and one of them is bucket list venues. But for the other two, if you could collaborate with anyone out there that you haven't gotten to work with yet, who would it be?
Dead or alive?
Alive. But I'm interested.
Alive?
I'm interested to hear what the other would have been.
Man, probably Randy Travis, Willie Nelson, or George Strait.
Oh man, it'd be hard to pick.
Yeah, I mean, all three of those. And it's kind of interesting because, like, I don't think I can't think of any duets that George has ever done, and Willie's done like duets with everybody, so they're like polar opposites.
It's so weird. I never thought, because the moment you said that, I thought, oh sure, George has done plenty, and then I started thinking, I'm like, no, I can't think of any.
I can't think of a single one. I feel like he might have done something with George Jones, but I could be wrong on that. But yeah, I mean, yeah, George Strait, Willie Nelson, Randy Travis. Those would probably be my top three.
By the way, happy birthday to George Strait. I believe as we're recording this, it's his birthday.
Yep, 69th birthday today.
Wow.
But yeah, those would be my. I don't think I could pick one of them. I would say that any of those would be the best person that I could possibly collaborate with.
It'd be hard to beat. The big finale question: what is the funniest or craziest story that you can tell from your music career so far?
Man, there's a lot that I can't tell.
Then you're doing it right.
Man, I'm gonna tell the story of Irresponsible. So. Back in the day, we didn't. This was before we had to put in place a rule that limits how much we drink before we go on stage. So we were playing a show in Tyler, Texas. If you know Curtis Grimes is from Gilmer, Texas, and which is right by Tyler. So we were playing the show in Tyler, and on our drive out there, we burned up a transmission and called AAA. And AAA said that they could come and pick up the truck or they could pick up the trailer. But all of our gear was in the trailer, and we needed the gear for the show, so we left the truck on the side of the road. And then called, and then they said that they only had room for 2 people, so we'd have to find alternate transportation for the rest of the band. So we put the rest of the band in the trailer. And this, by the way, it was like August 12th or August 19th or something. It was like middle of August. We're in Texas. It's like 100 degrees. Like, it's hot. And so before AAA got there, we went to the gas station. We got a bag of ice. We got them like Gatorades. I know we got a bag of ice and Gatorades. And it's like we had the door open until right when we saw AAA pulling. Oh, yeah. By the way, they also said they wouldn't tow a loaded down trailer. And so we told them there was nothing in the trailer. And so right when they're about to pull up, we closed the back gate of the trailer and locked the guys in there. And then me and one of the other band members went and got up in the cab, and they drove us to the venue. And like right when the AAA guy had like left, we pulled the back gate open, and like, dude, they were drenched in sweat. This was like an hour long drive. And they were drenched in sweat, and the Gatorades were drank, and the ice was melted, and they were like, I'm never doing that again. And so we get in there, and we play the show, but because we didn't have a vehicle to drive, we had been drinking a bit before we went on stage, and Curtis had offered to hook our trailer up and drive us home afterwards. So we get done. I mean, like, well, we're on stage. We're not in a state of mind that we should have been in to play music. And by the way, this was like 10 years ago, maybe more than 10 years ago. It's like 2011 probably, actually, so about 10 years ago. And we have a no drinking before stage rule now. But yeah, so we were like not in the right state of mind. We got off and we went up to the manager, and he was like y'all can't act like that. Like, if y'all are gonna like be distraught before you go on stage, we're not gonna have y'all back. And I was like, sorry, it will never happen again. And then we get paid, and we get in Curtis's car, and we drive back to a place that we're staying in East Texas. And the next morning, we woke up, and we were driving back to Austin because we had a show in Austin that day, and Curtis had a show in Austin. And so it kind of worked out that, like, he was just driving our trailer and driving us back down to Austin. And we got about halfway back, and we got to Waco. And I got a phone call from the place that we had stayed the night before. And they were like, y'all left beer cans everywhere. Y'all left this place trashed. You can't just come out here and be irresponsible. And so I apologized. I apologized for like everything. And I was like, we cleaned up before. Well, we did clean up before we left. And so they must have like seen it before we cleaned up, because before we left, we went around and cleaned the whole place up. But I was like, I'm sorry, we cleaned up before we left. I didn't know that. I apologize. We should have cleaned up last night, whatever. And right as I hang up the phone, our old drummer was like, what happened? I was like, he said we can't just come out there and be irresponsible. And he goes, there ain't nothing wrong with being irresponsible. And so we wrote the song Southbound between Waco and Austin on 35. And we ended up getting back to Austin that night. Like we were drinking on the way back to, not Curtis. Curtis was driving. The rest of us were drinking. And dude, when I didn't even know Curtis had recorded it actually. So I was driving around Austin probably a year later, and I heard it on Coke FM, and I was like, no way. Curtis recorded this, put it out on the radio. And so I recorded it and I sent it over to Curtis, and Curtis just sent I think he sent me like, I think he said, you're about to die laughing. I didn't know what that meant. And he sent me the recording because he'd audio recorded us writing the song the whole way back, because we didn't have like a computer or anything to like type out the lyrics. So we were recording it on our phone. And so like, he literally has the saved audio recording of us writing it, and we are so sloppy. It was like we were so drunk, and it was like, oh my gosh, I cannot believe that.
And then it became a hit. Those road trip stories make for the best songs.
And now Curtis doesn't drink, and we don't drink before we go on stage.
That's funny. You know, it's in the Texas music scene. There are a lot of Aggies, a lot of Red Raiders, and everything in between. I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think I've only had 2 guests on this podcast who graduated from the University of Texas, and you both had the same funny story at the end about having to smuggle your band. It was you and Bree Bagwell, both. Okay, so
here's Bree and Curtis both probably don't want me saying this, but so when Curtis and I used to play El Arroyo, like this was in like 2007, probably 2007. Actually, man, it might have been 2006 even. It was a long time ago. We were doing Thursday nights at El Arroyo. Curtis was dating Bree.
Oh,
yeah. So Curtis dated Bree a long time ago. And so Curtis and I would go there and get drunk, and Bree would be going to get us our margaritas. She's the reason that we didn't make any money those nights, because she kept on bringing us margaritas.
That's hilarious. But once again, it goes to show that the whole scene is a small world.
Yep. And another thing is like, man, there's just so many good people in this scene too. There's a lot of good people, and it's amazing that it has grown to the size that it is and stayed as supportive and good people that it is.
Oh yeah, for sure. For sure. Well, Drew, I'm going to close this thing out kind of on that note. You are one of the good guys. I appreciate you coming on this podcast, and I'm excited to see what you've got coming up next. And like you said, everybody call and request one beer at a time, because it's a good one. So I appreciate it, and thank you so much for having me on. And man, hopefully I'll get to see you. We'll get to go have a beer soon. Yeah, let's make it happen. All right. Well, we're going to close this thing out with a song, and I didn't have one written down, but I think Living for the Weekend would be a good one. Man, perfect. Awesome. Well, this is Living for the Weekend, y'all. This has been episode 45 with Drew Fish. Drew, you take care, man. You too.
There's a good time waiting for me at the end of this week. Working like a dog, all I'm begging for a treat. Got a good